They say love can blind even the sharpest minds. But what happens when the illusion of love is meticulously crafted to trap someone in a lie so deep it nearly destroys them? This is not just a story about betrayal. It's a carefully orchestrated web of deceit, manipulation, and a failed ambush that ends in courtrooms, live-streamed stabbings, and a downfall so brutal it shocked everyone involved. Imagine building a life with someone you adore, planning your future, exchanging rings, only to discover that every kiss, every smile, every whispered "I love you" was rehearsed for a con. Now picture unmasking that betrayal just weeks before your wedding, when deposits have been paid, vows half-written, and families entangled. What would you do if the person you trusted most wasn't just cheating, but plotting to use you legally and financially, with a group of her friends acting like a boardroom of emotional terrorists? This isn't a Netflix drama or courtroom thriller. This is real life, and what makes it even more compelling? The hero doesn't fight with fists or fury. He fights back with receipts, evidence, calm defiance, and a smartphone that recorded everything. If you're the kind of person who believes karma takes too long, then you're going to want to watch this to the very end, because this isn't just justice, it's poetic revenge. Before we dive deep into this roller coaster, make sure you subscribe to John's Stories channel for more shocking, emotional, and unforgettable true tales we drop every day. Now buckle up. My name's Jake. I'm 31, and for a while I thought I was about to marry the love of my life. Her name was Lauren, 29 years old, beautiful, successful, confident, the kind of woman who walks into a room and everyone notices. She worked in luxury real estate. You know the type. The just sold another $2.3 million listing type, with overly edited Instagram stories and a LinkedIn full of hustle quotes. We met in the most casual way, at the sports bar I manage. I know, not exactly a Wall Street job, but I love what I do. I started as a bartender with a business degree I never really used, then climbed my way up to general manager of one of the best performing locations in our state. Good regulars, decent money, and a team that actually respects me, which is more than most can say in the service industry. Lauren came in one night with a pack of ultra-polished friends. They were celebrating a birthday and dropped $600 on craft cocktails and sliders like it was nothing. I remember her laughing at my dumb bar jokes while sipping some overpriced pomegranate martini. We hit it off fast. The thing is, when someone gorgeous, driven, and popular like Lauren gives you the time of day, you feel lucky, even if you're not supposed to. She started showing up during my shifts, stayed late, and after just a few months, she was basically living at my place. By the 1-year mark, we officially moved in together. I had a decent 2-bedroom in a modern building downtown. Nothing extravagant, but it had good security, a doorman, and it was in my name thanks to my credit score and rental history. Looking back, that decision probably saved my life. Everything seemed great. For a while. She was making serious money, easily double what I made, and while I never cared, her friends sure did. I'd hear little digs all the time like, "Isn't it great that Jake's happy with his job?" Or, "Maybe he'll move into corporate one day." Lauren never corrected them. Sometimes she even agreed. It didn't take long for the red flags to start waving like a parade. She began working late more often, kept her phone face down constantly, and randomly changed her password one day. All textbook stuff, but love, real or imagined, has a way of dulling your instincts. Then came Sarah, a regular customer, always polite, a true trivia night veteran. She pulled me aside one Wednesday looking completely rattled and said, "Jake, if I were in your shoes, I'd want someone to tell you." Sarah's sister worked at an elite hair salon in the city. Apparently, Lauren had been a regular there, always scheduling her appointments when I was at work. That morning, during a 2-hour session, she spent the whole time on the phone with a man, laughing, cooing, calling him babe, telling him she couldn't wait for their weekend getaway, that her idiot fiancé thought she was attending a work seminar. As Sarah said this, my ears rang, my face flushed. Part of me wanted to believe it was a misunderstanding, but then she showed me the Instagram story. Some random influencer at a high-end restaurant posted a celebratory pic with a champagne tower, and right there, in the background, was Lauren, cozied up to some guy in a tailored navy suit. The timestamp? 9:47 p.m. Lauren had sent me a face mask selfie at 9:52 p.m., claiming she was having a girls' night. She had literally staged an entire fake photo to cover her tracks. I played it cool, thanked Sarah, and went back to work like a zombie. I still had half a shift to go, but my mind was gone. That night, I remembered our shared iPad at home. Months ago, Lauren had synced her iCloud to it while getting her phone repaired. She must have forgotten. Once I got home, she claimed to be at a friend's house. I opened it. What I saw broke something in me. Hundreds of messages with a guy named Ethan, her ex. Not some new fling, this was a full-blown relationship. There were photos, jokes at my expense, even plans for their future. They were sleeping together at a hotel near his office for months. And it wasn't just cheating, it was scheming. Worse, her friends, those corporate professionals who threw shade at my bar job, were in on it. They gave her advice, helped her lie, coached her on how to keep me distracted. There were screenshots of messages from the night I proposed. While I nervously fumbled with a ring box, she was texting Ethan, "It's just business. You're the one I love." And still, she accepted the proposal.
I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. I sat in the living room, staring at that iPad, scrolling through 4 months of betrayal dressed up as relationship milestones. Anniversary? He got a "thank you for being patient" text from her. Christmas? She sent him selfies in the dress I bought her. The night we celebrated our engagement, she called it a business arrangement in their chat. You ever have a moment so emotionally disorienting that even your memories start to feel like lies? That was me. I wasn't just heartbroken, I was humiliated. My entire relationship had been a front, a placeholder for something more profitable. The next day, I worked like a ghost. I didn't want to scream or lash out. I wanted to know how deep this went. I started digging harder, backed up everything. Screenshots, cloud backups, even photos of the iPad screen itself. She had made a mistake thinking I wouldn't find out. But I wasn't going to make the mistake of leaving without a fight. When Lauren came home the next night, I was calm. That scared her more than yelling would have. She walked in around 7 p.m., bubbly as ever, talking about how she'd shown 3 properties and maybe we should order sushi. I didn't answer, just handed her the iPad. For about 2 seconds, she played dumb. What's this? Then she saw the open message thread, with the date in big, bold font. She froze, dropped the iPad onto the coffee table like it burned her hands. Her instinct? Not apology, not guilt, just manipulation. Tears welled up fast. "It was a mistake," she said. "He's my past. You're my future." You ever watch someone pretend to cry? Not just fail at it, but act like it's a role they've been rehearsing? That was her. I asked her, very plainly, if she had any regrets. You know what she said? "But Jake, what about the wedding deposits? My parents paid so much. What will people say?" That's when it clicked. This wasn't love. This wasn't confusion. This was a calculated plan to bleed me dry and play the victim in the aftermath. So I made my move. "The wedding is off," I told her. "You've got 30 days to move out. I'll be staying at a friend's place tonight. Pack whatever you need." She blinked, her lips twitching like she couldn't decide whether to cry harder or scream. Then she did the most suspicious thing of all. She started texting. Fast. And with this weird little smirk. I ignored it, went to grab my duffel bag and some work clothes, and told her I'd leave peacefully. That's when things took a sharp, violent turn. Just as I was walking out the door, I heard tires screech in the parking lot below. 5 cars. Women poured out like it was a coordinated mission. Lauren's friends, the same group who made fun of me for managing a bar. Only now, they weren't in suits and heels, they were in hoodies and sneakers, like they'd just come from the gym or were ready to brawl. Lauren stood on our balcony, arms crossed like a general watching soldiers march into battle. My gut dropped. This wasn't over. Out in the parking lot, I hit record on my phone and kept it in my jacket pocket. Best decision of my life. Hannah, the finance exec and rugby alum, stormed up first. She started yelling about how I was abusive, that they weren't going to let Lauren spend another night with a monster like me. Behind her was Jessica, lawyer, Maria, doctor, Ashley, marketing, and Rachel, who would become very important later. Some of them looked uncertain, but none of them stopped what happened next. I stayed calm, hands up, told them I gave Lauren legal notice. I'm leaving. Please don't escalate. But Hannah wasn't interested in logic. She got right into my face, 5'4" and all muscle, then shoved me. Before I could even react, Jessica grabbed my arm like she was executing a citizen's arrest, and Rachel started filming. Not discreetly either. Phone out, camera on, screaming "Stop resisting" as Hannah kicked me in the ribs. Maria and Ashley just stood there, frozen but doing nothing to help. I knew I had one shot at this. With one arm free, I managed to hit my iPhone's SOS, 5 taps on the side button, instant 911. "Police are coming," I shouted, loud enough for the neighbors to hear. Rachel shouted back, "No one will believe you." Then Hannah did the unthinkable. She stabbed me. It wasn't deep. I flinched hard and the blade glanced, but it was enough to need 12 stitches later. Blood spilled down my arm. I fell to the pavement, heart racing, vision blurred. And just like that, it was over. Cops stormed in, weapons drawn. Jessica and Hannah tried to run. Rachel refused to put her phone down until an officer tackled her. Lauren stood on our balcony screaming about how I attacked them, holding a knife block like she'd been ready to jump in herself. But what they didn't realize, everything was caught. On my phone, on building security cams, on Rachel's own live stream. This wasn't assault anymore. This was evidence. Now let's pause here because this is where reality begins to feel like satire. As I sat in the ER getting stitched up, bruised ribs making every breath a struggle, a victim advocate from the DA's office showed up, and I'll never forget what she said. This doesn't happen often, but when it does, we bring the hammer down. Meanwhile, the women who attacked me, they had no clue how stupid they'd been. Turns out Rachel had been live streaming the entire ambush to a private Instagram group, one the police got access to with a warrant. That group chat, a goldmine of criminal stupidity. They had planned everything, not just the attack, not just the filming, they rehearsed it like a twisted college project. They used corporate work phones to organize the assault, even discussed which angles to film from and what phrases would make it sound like self-defense. You can't make this up. Even more unbelievable, 2 days after the attack, while I was still in the hospital, Lauren had the audacity to show up at my bar, told my coworkers and regulars that I had snapped, that the whole thing was a misunderstanding. She was playing chess, but she brought checkers to a courtroom. Because remember, Michael, the ex she'd been cheating with, he was a licensed attorney, and he started sending threatening emails to me and the cops who arrested his girlfriend's friends. From his work email. He wrote things like, "You don't know who you're dealing with," and "This will all go away if you drop the charges." He even bragged about having friends in the DA's office. That alone got another warrant issued, and what they found made everything 10 times worse. When investigators finally combed through the seized devices, what they uncovered wasn't just damning, it was theatrical. Rachel's live stream, which she thought would paint me as the villain, actually documented the premeditated ambush in full HD. But it was the group chat archives that blew the case wide open. Months of conversations were recovered. Screenshots, voice memos, even PowerPoint-like breakdowns of who would say what, stand where, and press record at what moment. They discussed ideal angles for filming me getting violent, how to provoke me just enough to make it look like they were defending themselves. You know what else they found? Google searches. How to make a stabbing look like self-defense. What happens if you fake an attack? Can I go to jail if I stab someone who didn't touch me? And every bit of it tied to their work phones.
These Ivy League-educated corporate success stories had used company property to plan a felony. Meanwhile, I was still recovering, physically and emotionally. The wound on my arm healed faster than the ache in my chest, not because of the stabbing, but because I had trusted someone who never loved me. Lauren hadn't just betrayed me, she had groomed me into stability while planning my downfall with her friends. It wasn't heartbreak, it was strategic cruelty. 2 days after the attack, as if none of that had happened, Lauren tried to reclaim the narrative. She went to my job, spun lies to my staff, claimed I had snapped, that I had a history of emotional abuse, that she feared for her life. But remember, I had evidence. Real, irrefutable, unshakable evidence. And more importantly, so did the police. Then came Michael's meltdown. You remember him, the lawyer boyfriend she cheated with? He began emailing threats directly to the officers who arrested her friends. Full-on villain mode. I know people. You don't want to be on the wrong side of this. Drop the charges or your career's over. And the kicker? He sent these emails from his law firm's official domain. As a licensed attorney, that alone kicked off a whole separate bar investigation into his conduct. Meanwhile, the DA's office was building a bulletproof case. Multiple camera angles, medical records, witness testimonies, Rachel's live stream, and screenshots of Lauren's own messages outlining how to make it look like I was the abuser. The prosecution was salivating. But the twist that really brought it all crashing down came from the most unlikely person, Ashley. Out of all the women involved, Ashley had seemed the most hesitant that night. She didn't attack me, didn't yell, barely moved, just stood there on the sidelines with her arms crossed, looking pale. 2 weeks later, her conscience caught up. Her lawyer contacted the DA. Ashley wanted to cut a deal, full cooperation in exchange for a reduced sentence. She didn't just hand over the existing chat logs, she revealed a separate secret group chat the others didn't know about, a backup where she documented even more. Voice notes, screenshots, and videos of them rehearsing the attack in Maria's garage gym. There were even practice runs. One clip showed Hannah pretending to stab a mannequin, Rachel testing camera angles, Jessica reading fake police report lines. And then there was Lauren. In one particularly haunting voice memo, Lauren said, "This will be over fast. We frame Jake, cry a little, make it look like trauma, then I divorce him, walk away with half, and rebuild with Michael. Easy." Hearing it for the first time felt like reliving the betrayal all over again. She wasn't just heartless, she was calculating. Ashley's confession shattered whatever defense the others were clinging to. And yet, despite the mountain of evidence, despite everything, Lauren still tried to flip the script in court. When trial began, her legal team painted her as the victim, claimed I was emotionally volatile, that I'd snooped into her private messages, that I had no right to go through the iPad, even though it was shared and synced to my account. They tried to argue that catching her cheating was the real abuse. They even tried to twist my request for her to move out as domestic intimidation. I had to sit on that witness stand for 2 full days while their attorneys tried to poke holes in my character. They asked why I didn't react violently when I found out. They asked why I was so calm during the ambush. They asked if I had anger issues I was repressing. It was maddening, but necessary. I didn't break, not once. And then came Ashley. Testifying for the prosecution, she didn't just answer questions, she laid out every single plan like a roadmap of malice. She read their strategy aloud, described how Lauren had rehearsed tears, explained how they were counting on the legal system's bias against men in domestic disputes. Ashley even confirmed that Michael, Lauren's lawyer boyfriend, had helped draft the fake police report against me, under oath, with the jury hanging on to every word. At that moment, you could feel the shift in the courtroom. The defense scrambled. Lauren exploded. She began yelling from the table, "I deserve to be angry. He violated my trust. He went through my messages." And then she slipped. In a rage, she admitted Michael helped her fake the report. On the record. The judge's expression went from bored to electrified. You could practically see the gears turning. Everything the prosecution needed was now confirmed, on tape, in writing, and out loud. The verdicts came fast. Hannah, the stabber, 36 months in state prison, no parole for 24 months, followed by 5 years probation. Jessica, who tackled me, same sentence. Rachel, who filmed it all and screamed false accusations, same sentence. Maria, who let them train in her garage gym and stood by, 18 months probation, 300 hours of community service. Ashley, who turned witness, 12 months probation with mandated counseling. Michael, currently facing bar suspension and criminal conspiracy charges. Lauren, still awaiting her own separate trial, but accepted a plea deal. Details sealed, but she's looking at years, not months. I don't feel triumphant. I feel relieved. Because justice doesn't always come in waves. It trickles. Slowly, patiently. But when it hits, it changes everything. Have you ever had a moment where pretending led to something unexpectedly real? Please comment below and like this video if you believe the best love stories start with honesty. Subscribe our channel now for more powerful story-based videos every day.
Even after the trial ended and the guilty were sentenced, the fallout didn't stop. You'd think someone like Lauren, exposed so publicly, would lay low, rebuild quietly, take the L and move on, but narcissists rarely go down quietly. Instead, she went on the offensive, on social media, through fake accounts, and even in real life. It started with whispers, anonymous Reddit threads, TikTok comments, edited video clips from Rachel's original stream posted online, spliced to remove any context and portray me as the aggressor. Look, he's yelling. Look, he's leaving the scene. Guilty behavior. Of course, the full footage, building security, my phone recording, medical records, all told the truth. But that didn't stop the narrative war. Lauren made burner accounts to message my coworkers, claiming I had a violent temper and a history of emotional control. She called my parents' house, left voicemails pretending to be reporters. She even showed up to the bar one night, wearing a hoodie and sunglasses, trying to blend in. She sat at the far end, sipping a water, just watching. One of my bartenders spotted her and immediately called security. She left before they arrived, but that moment stuck with me. It wasn't over for her. It wasn't over for me. See, nobody tells you that even when justice is served, healing doesn't happen overnight. Your brain doesn't update like an app. You don't delete someone from your heart just because the evidence says you should. You question everything. Your memory, your judgment, even your worth. I went through weeks of wondering, was it my fault? Should I have noticed sooner? Was I too trusting? Too naive? But here's the truth I came to accept. When someone wants to lie to you, and they do it with enough conviction, they can become whoever you want them to be. And that's not on you. That's on them. But what you do after the mask comes off, that's on you. So I rebuilt. Slowly. I focused on work. I started therapy. I took long walks without headphones just to hear myself think. I reconnected with old friends I'd neglected during the relationship. And most of all, I'd let myself feel everything. Not just the anger, the embarrassment, the grief for a future that was never real. One of the things that helped the most? Talking to people who'd been through similar betrayals. A guy named Marcus reached out after my story gained traction in our community. His wife had run a years-long affair while building a facade of a perfect marriage. He told me something I'll never forget. When people deceive with love, it's the deepest cut. Because love is supposed to be where we heal, not what wounds us. And he was right. Healing doesn't mean you pretend it didn't happen. Healing means you accept that it did, and you refuse to let it define your ability to love again. Lauren? Her life spiraled after the case. With 3 of her best friends in prison and 2 others socially exiled, she tried to land on her feet professionally, but her reputation preceded her. The real estate agency she worked for cut ties within a week of the sentencing. Michael's law firm dropped him before the state bar could even vote. And while she tried to spin it as a smear campaign for a while, eventually, the silence swallowed her story. People moved on. But I didn't need revenge. I didn't need her to suffer endlessly. I just needed the truth to be known. I needed to walk into my bar, into my home, into my own head, and know that I was no longer gaslighting myself to believe someone's lies. Months later, something poetic happened. I got an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a photo, me and Lauren at our engagement dinner, toasting. The back of the photo had one sentence: "You deserved better." I don't know who sent it. Could have been Ashley. Could have been no one. But it was the first time I looked at that photo and didn't feel stupid. I felt proud. Because I got out. Because I stood up. Because I healed. So here's what I want to leave you with. Whether you've been cheated on, manipulated, used, or gaslit, do not measure your worth by how someone else mistreated you. Toxic people don't choose weak victims. They choose strong ones they think they can break. And if you survive that kind of betrayal, you are not broken. You are bulletproof. You are wiser, sharper. You've stared into the eyes of someone who said, "I love you," while sharpening a knife behind your back, and you made it out. That's power. And that's not the end of the story. That's the beginning of a new one. If this story moved you, made you think twice, or just made you grateful you're not in Jake's shoes, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more powerful stories like this every single day, right here on John's Stories. Whether it's betrayal, justice, love, or life, there's always a lesson to be found. Thanks for watching. And remember, you deserve better. Always.